Solo, with Calaxy, you're creating a platform for content creators to be able to get closer to their communities, manage and build their communities with a lot more control than they have on the traditional social platforms. And the initial use case was a tokenization of your co-founder Spencer's NBA contract. How did that initial use case work?
So Calaxy started off, about 3 years ago. My older brother, who's best friends with Spencer, they're both kind of like my older brothers. Depending on the day, they might be my younger brothers. But Spencer wanted to take his NBA contract and monetize it early. And so the way in which he did this was through securitization. And at the time, I was an investment banker focusing on securitization. And what he wanted to do was unlock the trapped liquidity in his contract by essentially allowing him to take the payments for it earlier by selling the rights to it or shares of it in the form of an Ethereum token to his fan base.
So he's got a duration of however many number of years and a total dollar amount, and that's getting broken up into individual tokens that fans or people in his community can purchase and trade also?
The idea was that there would be opportunities to trade in the secondary markets. At this point, when you think about contract securitizations, it's a pretty thin asset class comparative to something like a residential mortgage-backed security. So secondary volumes aren't particularly high for this, and he also didn't really want to source the capital from investors that were really looking to flip it. It was more so a proof of concept for the bigger picture of what Calaxy became, which originally was supposed to be a capital markets engine that allowed creators like Spencer or NBA players like Spencer or athletes to be able to monetize their contracts, but now has pivoted much more to a equitable earning model for content creators to connect with their fan base through traditional social experience and sort of monetize those relationships.
So how are creators using the platform already today?
Calaxy originally started off as a capital markets engine. So we had about $500 million worth of inquiry come in after Spencer was able to successfully securitize his contract from other sports stars around the world. But we quickly found that there was an even bigger opportunity to monetize the way in which people do things. And so you've seen the rise of platforms like Patreon, Cameo, creator-first platforms that allow creators to monetize their communities for things that they're doing in their time, which is very much more familiar to people versus, monetizing an opaque sports contract that's super intangible. And so what we've been able to do is really see a bigger market opportunity, the $100 billion creator economy industry that we see as an opportunity to tokenize and allow content creators to monetize more efficiently.
From what I can see, there's a big challenge in changing the mindset from the Web 2 concepts to Web 3 and more ownership of data, control of your own data, self-sovereignty, distribute real decentralized architectures. Calaxy seems to have a great opportunity to bridge the user. How do you think about that?
Bridging the gap is the most important thing. That's probably the buzzwords of everyone in our company. Everybody has to be, dead set on figuring out the easiest, most efficient way to migrate, Web 2 audiences to Web 3 constructs. For us, that user experience is very key. And so for us, certain things like bifurcating account creation from wallet creation, just because you'll have your own non-custodial wallet within Calaxy. You can hold your different assets in there, but it's by no means a necessary component of our experience. When you think about any Web 3 application right now, you have to show up, knock, knock, what's your MetaMask, right? Like that means nothing to the vast majority of people. And so for us, bifurcating things like that in the user experience and allowing varying degrees of adoption. So somebody might be able to come in and use the marketplace activity using their credit card solely. Creators might take their payouts directly in cryptocurrency or USD if that's what they're comfortable with. And so allowing for those different user journeys to meet those different needs is super important.
Well, and you're out there raising capital at a really interesting time. The venture market is at a low. We've had a big reset in valuations, but also in your industry specifically, you have the additional problem of the ghost of Sam Bankman-Fried hanging over the whole situation and environment. How do you power through those challenges in this race?
I would say from our perspective, the ghost of Sam Bankman-Fried definitely looms over the industry, but I think it also showed the importance for us not to get attached to any individual one person. It's almost like the core ethos of blockchain is to decentralize things.
Right.
Not too much power should lie in the hands of anyone. And so I think the companies that are able...
ironic.
It is very ironic. Yeah. Even more ironic that it was a centralized exchange, which allowed them to be able to move the assets that weren't theirs. But beyond that point, I think the companies are able to persist through and weather the storms of today will be the ones that are successful tomorrow. And so I think, previous, understanding of blockchain technology and adoption would be for, decentralizing payments. But I think quickly we're finding that, it might be the case that, the creator economy or some other use case might be a better use case for decentralized technology and finding adoption.
Do you think that the big platforms are going to react anytime soon? You would think their business model with Web3 and the things like Calaxy coming into the market, the platforms you're building and many others, is fundamentally threatening their business model.
I would say that they work hand in hand, right? And so when you think about a TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, those platforms are built for distribution. They allow you to reach massive audiences of people, but their business model isn't fundamentally built on, selling experiences and taking a rev share agreement. There are different types of businesses in this world. And so for us, our revenue is a lot more tied to that marketplace activity.
Okay.
Calaxy is kind of like a social marketplace. But it's very, very well hidden underneath the social features. It doesn't feel like you're just walking into a bunch of billboards, but it's a social experience where there are the opportunities to monetize those micropayments. So I think there's a pretty big pivot, actually, much more than people might think, for a big Instagram-like presence to pivot. Not saying it's impossible.
But there's inertia.
There's obviously a lot of inertia that goes into it.